All right, we're live.
So we're live. So don't say that you don't want to vote in. Used against in the future, it's on the internet forever. Did something different at the presentation.
Change the clock
Is that it?
and the font.
It looks clearer.
What's up? One day I'll perfect this. Probably the day before I retire.
That's a good time to do it.
That's right.
Well, I will be here by then. So.
The next guy will screw it up.
Did you talk to him?
He doesn't want me touching it anymore because last time I changed everything.
Yeah. He's on probation.
Yeah, he's been passed. He's in the penalty box.
That's right. 6 months to spend it off.
Call the meeting in order. I want to acknowledge the Smoky Valley with their learning, work, and organize is the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territory of the Smoky people and home of the Upper Smoky Indian Band. Adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Lewis, second.
That's not fun.
Yeah.
All in favor? Carried. Adoption of the December 18th, 2024 regular meeting.
I'll make that.
Thank you.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Was, errors or omissions? All in favor? Carried. The January 8th, 2025 committee of the whole minutes.
Make that one, Mr. Mayor.
Do
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
errors or omissions? All in favor? Carried. Thanks. That takes us to petitions and delegations. And we have, trustee Rainier, here from School District 58, along with, operations manager Daryl Finnegan and Dylan Richardson here to speak to us. So come on up. You guys get 15 minutes to, and we have a give a presentation.
Yeah, I think there's one. Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for spending your time with us. We appreciate it. I was going to do those introductions. Thank you for doing that for me. The main issue that we're bringing forward, I think you've seen it, is busing concern in and around the town. It's always our number one problem, basically, it seems with parents and we have diligently over the years, we always have to review our routes and maintain the vehicles and also our drivers. The gentleman behind me will give you some more input into it, but what happens is the public sees our buses going through town empty, and we figure we can just stop at every location and pick people up and take them. If the kids have number one concern, it's a rather difficult thing to do. We usually make different stops all over the place. So we're kind of here to maybe help jumpstart or kickstart something that would involve maybe the town, ourselves, and RDUS and the ministry, and see if we can come up with a solution to help grow the community, which would help our elderly and all our members and our students. So I'll leave it to these guys to go through the slide.
Thanks, Trustee Wiener. Thanks, Mayor Quine and Council for having us here today. I do have a few slides. The slides that I'm just going to walk you through, we presented this at our public meeting in September. And so we just wanted to take you through the information that we worked through to arrive at us making a request here today for you. Back in May, we received a letter from Princeton parent, asking the board to provide secondary students with bus transportation for the benefits mentioned there. And, you know, really also that the letters requesting that the board consider reducing its walking limits, providing courtesy access if there was seating available, or charge a fee. So it was that letter that kind of set the stage for us looking into this, and Mr. Finnegan and I, along with other staff, were working on this over the summer. And so took us to our policy here, which is our student transportation to and from school. So our current walking limits are 4 kilometers for primary aged students, so kindergarten to grade 3, and 5 kilometers for grade 4 through to grade 12. We do allow special circumstances. We have done that in the past. You know, for example, maybe we have a student that, you know, has a temporary need, maybe broke a leg or something like that. You know, we certainly work to accommodate those needs. But by and large, this is a policy that we've been using to form our bus routes that we currently have. Here is information that we shared at a public meeting. We wanted the public to be aware of what are the walking limits for other rural districts throughout the province. And what we found through this survey, and the survey surveys all 60 districts, we pulled what we thought were districts that were likened to Nichols-Milkameen. And this demonstrates that there is some variability, but by and large, the walking distances are quite consistent to what we have. Then we took a look at our secondary students, our Princeton secondary students, and their distance to PSS. And so at the time we did this analysis, we identified 188 PSS students. And we identified that 35% currently ride the bus because they live outside of the 5-kilometer walking distance. While the other 65% that attend PSS live within the municipality of Princeton. And we also then took the 122 students that lived inside the municipality. We then wanted to see, well, their identified home address, where is it in proximity to the school? And so the furthest distance that students do need to walk is 3.2 kilometers. We also did another analysis that was requested by the same Princeton parent. One of our bus stops is on Captain Ave, which is right around where the former Princeton Board office is located. And so we did an analysis to explore the vacancy and potential bus capacity for secondary students at this bus stop, because after this bus stop, bus then goes to Princeton Secondary. So it could be a potential for secondary students to get a ride to the school. We identified that 66 students are registered to be on the bus at this bus stop. Our bus is a 70-passenger bus, so it has 22 individual seats plus 2 rear seats. So if we assume 3 persons to a seat, it would potentially leave 4 seats that would be vacant, is what we identified. But as Trustee Rayner referenced, safety is definitely front and center for us. And for that reason, we actually use 2 persons to a bus seat, especially for secondary students. And so when you move from a 3-person to a 2-person per seat model, those vacancies are now gone. Looking at Princeton bus students in general, so our total student population at the time that we did this analysis was 485 students, 143 at John Ellison, 139 at Million Forks, and 188 at PSS, and 15 at Bridge or Hilton program. The total Princeton bus students represent 340 or 70%. This would include those 66 secondary students that live beyond a 5-kilometer walking limit, but it also includes our elementary students. Something that we've maintained since we've been amalgamated school district is being that John Allison is a K-3 and Vermillion is 4-7. Our busing service does provide interbus transfer for those elementary students. It does add a significant layer of complexity to the overall system, but it's been working. A couple comments that were brought forward during the public meeting was the perception of empty school buses. And so we wanted to bring awareness that even though buses can be perceived to be empty, that they could be coming from just having dropped off, or maybe they're on the way to pick up students. And also they could be on the way to fuel up, in which case they can't have students on board the bus. And also our district mechanic is also conducting regular maintenance on the buses themselves, in which case they're going to be empty. So there's going to be, at any given time, you're probably going to see an empty bus, but it's not that the capacity is not being used. It's just a function of the logistics and the operations and the maintenance. This here's a slide that looks at the funding that we are provided as a school district from the Ministry of Education and Childcare. The orange line at the bottom represents the amount of funding that we've been receiving. And this analysis here goes back to the 2017-2018 school year. And you can see that the funding has remained static at $170,000. And so that funding amount has not increased. And the blue line represents what is the cost to provide student transportation for Nicholas Milking. And so that's a representation of our regular bus routes, but also a representation of the field trips and other special trips that we go on. And so you can see from 2017 through to the 2021 school year, relatively around the $800,000 mark. But after the pandemic, as we all know, hit with inflation, and we know that inflation was 22% over a 3-year period. And you can see that from 21 to 22 was a 22% increase. And then from 22 to 23, another 20% jump. This past year, our costs leveled off. We actually had a 3% decrease. So that was a nice trend, considering that it was 40% over the last couple of years. But we did want to bring this information forward as well, just so that partner groups understood what our costing is like and what it costs the school district to provide the services that we do. We then also provide some information about the provincial outlook. So at the time that we did this analysis, CBC News in August published that the Surrey School District, they cut 50% of the transportation budget this year. And them being the largest school district, it's a sizable amount for sure. The Carrickborough School District is reported to reduce the number of bus route stops. Kelowna is a school district that charges fees, and for the last 5 years, they've been increasing their fees. And so you can see that the economies of scale are shifting, and school districts around the province are needing and having to adjust to these economies of scale. And so just bring it back to what Trustee Rayner was saying. Our request, the output of the meeting in September was a request to meet with the town of Williston and see if a request could be made for the verbiage that came forward from the parent was to form an ad hoc committee, and that if such a committee for municipal transit needs were formed, the school district would certainly be willing participant at that. So that is the information that led up to us being here today. And again, I'm sure if you want to share about bus routes themselves.
No, I think we covered it. What is it? Yeah, with the intertransfer between the elementary schools is very complex situation, trying to get students back and forth on time, that type of thing. So that in Princeton, we have 2 less bus routes, but it's probably 3 times harder to maintain busing versus like Merrick. Just with all that interbusing. So the complexity is really tough to try to figure out anything beyond And if I could just close by saying, I'm sure you all remember the hospital crisis we went through. At that time, we had a committee and we brought in Weyerhaeuser and the mine, their managers, and we had incredible discussions with them, the ministry, and it really helped out the situation. So thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
So we just handed over summary from BC Transit. So we've been working on this.
That was quick. Thanks.
So we've been working on this since 2018.
Okay.
I won't mention his name, but previous chair had no interest at all in discussing this with us. So we've been working on this with the regional district to create a more robust regional transit system while we try to build an in-town transit system. And that has been our goal since 2014. We are on a list to get funding. It's not an easy thing to get funding through BC Transit. We've been in negotiations now for 7 years. So just to give you an idea, we have to get in line with everything else. They have to acquire buses, et cetera, et cetera. The goal is to provide, an actual bus route in town while we move the Route 50, which is the Penticton run, that Princeton pays about 90%.
We pay roughly 95% of it and use about 2/3 of it.
The rest is used by the rest of the regional districts, so we wanted to go to a regional service so that we could free up some money and some time. Because running 2 bus services is a big time, and it does use up our so since this is an operational thing, I'm going to strongly suggest that your operations people reach out to the CAO and see if there's further discussions to be had. Like I said, this is something that's ongoing for us since the first thing in our first term. So not a new thing for us. And the fact that you're here today shows that there's some will on your guys' part to participate in this. I did have conversations before and they were nope. So that was
Good.
good. So,
Thank you. Yeah, and I just say that mine and Weyerhaeuser were extremely influential in getting.
yeah, we have BC Transit support on this. It is on the work list. It's just whether or not the higher ups can find the funding for it to have it. We've been looking at all options, including our own buses, and do our own bus route. So we need it in town bus service. So again, so get you guys to reach out to Lyle and see where you guys can park. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your meeting.
Next thing. Public hearing. The Agricultural Land Commission exclusion application.
This is a recap of the public hearing from December 18th. There is an error on the second page. It reads, further CA Thomas reported that staff have received 5, and then in brackets, I've got 9. It should be worded as 9. So I'm asking council to receive and file this report as amended.
Okay, moved by Councilor Wolf, seconded.
I will second that.
Do you have any questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. The next one is 6.2 BC water meter pilot funding application. Jared.
Yes, thank you. So it's just recently been announced that there is a new pilot program to implement residential water metering. This program is 100% funded up to $5 million. I am working on pricing right now. I got full pricing, but we're looking probably around 2 million. And that would include the purchase and installation of water meters for residential customers. And also would include an aspect of receiving this funding is to have a AMI reading system. So instead of having someone go drive around reading meters, we have a stationary in-place system that reads the meters like on an hourly basis. So yeah, with that, I'm just asking for council's permission to apply for this funding.
Questions?
That's 2 million that cover every house in.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just the meters, you know, this would be the labor to install.
That's labor, that's meters and labor included. With this though, there would also be, it's like just over $18 per meter to have on the system, like it's a cellular endpoint system. So I think we'd be looking at roughly $25,000 annually to run the system.
So that would be something you have to figure out later.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. Any last questions or comments? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Thank you, ownership study and smoking deck upgrades pre-designed report.
Thank you. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the flood mitigation work that we've been doing. One of the next steps is going to be doing work, dikes and whatever we can, right? So there is questions of ownership and stuff like that. So this report would outline options for ownership. I think there's some pre-design work in there as well. It would, like I said, it works hand in hand with flood mitigation. This funding is also 100% funded. And I think our total project is 400,000. And so I'm asking council's permission to apply for this funding as well.
Excellent. Questions? Motion?
Make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Lewis, second.
I'll second that.
Elliot, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Council reports. Councilor Willis.
I have nothing exciting to report at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Why? Councilor Elliot.
Well, I'll make up for that. On the 8th, I attended a Zoom meeting for the Canadian Mental Health Association Governance Committee. Later that night, I went to a Princeton Museum meeting. This morning, I attended a meeting of the interagency group, attended the Fire Hall groundbreaking ceremony with both of you. And that's my report. Been kind of busy all of a sudden.
Thank you.
Yep.
The only major thing I have to report is yesterday. Yeah, yesterday we had a cold weather shelter meeting. Not a lot of it. Funding is going to be difficult, and our location, all the regular stuff. We don't have a facility. That's our biggest downside. Second is we don't have enough qualified people to run it. And third, the bare minimum to get the funding, I believe they said would be 10 beds, which we, again, don't have a facility to run. So we're kind of in a rough spot here. I think we're about 10 people right now. 9? 8, that'd be nice. So that are in desperate need. There's not much we can do. We're working with all the agency partners to try to figure out a solution. So at this time, we have not been able to find a solution. So Ed and I and everybody else are working on it. But, a lot of bureaucracy between us and that. So that's all I got. With that, we'll go to the next one, which is correspondence action requested. The Backcountry Horseman Society is going to have their annual rendezvous opening ceremony on May 17th, 2025 at 10 a.m. And they request that either myself or a member of council come and say a few words at their kickoff. I'm not sure I'm available, but you guys, so do you.
I'll make that motion, just make that motion. I'm sure somebody will be available. I've checked my schedule. I won't be, but there could be somebody.
Sorry, where do they do it at?
It's
They've been here before and they've been well received.
well, they come every year.
They move it around. They haven't been here for quite a while.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
if somebody's available, we can help them out. Send them the rest of the letter.
Yep.
All in favor? Carried, thank you. And the last one is bylaws and resolutions and fees and charges bylaw. James, how yours?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is adoption. We did 3 readings on the council meeting on December 18th. This bylaw modifies the cemetery portion of fees and charges to better align our plots and our services with other cemeteries across the province. So asking that council adopt this bylaw.
Just before we do that, we did speak about finding a way to limit it, if not non-residents. Have we found a way yet to address that?
Well, it's still ongoing.
Okay, council, questions? Motion,
Make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
council Willis,
I'll second that motion.
any last questions or comments? All in favor? Carried, thank you. That, motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second that.
Thank you. Favor? Carried.